What is up, everyone? And welcome back to Across the Board, sponsored by MoneyBall Metrics. Everyone, we got a full set today. The desk is full. We have four of your favorite cappers up here. You have myself, Alpha Dog Bets. We have JD from Line Movers. We have Jammer from Jammer Bets. And we have Ben from We Beat the Spread. Fellas, we have made it. We have made it to the first official NFL playoff show. I'm very excited to dive into it. First, we have to see how everyone's doing today. We'll start with Jammer. Rocking the Pittsburgh jersey. I know you're excited to get eliminated by the Ravens. How are we today?
Whoa, we're coming in hot today, man.
Coming in hot, baby. Coming in hot.
Coming in hot, but it's freezing cold outside. JD, I hope you fixed the heat in your house. But I'm doing great today, man. Thanks for asking.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Ben, looking fresh in the good merch. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm having a great day. And, it's not because I'm having my best betting week in, probably the past year. It's not because the NFL playoffs start tomorrow. It's not because UFC is back tomorrow. You know why? It's because I get to watch three people cluck today.
Whoa.
Do you? No, that's not how it's working. It's just going to be me today. Sorry to disappoint you, Ben. It's going to be just me. Oh, yeah. Everybody in here went 1-1 over the last 2 weeks but me because I joined your stupid-ass team. Even though I was on the Packers to my VIP, I joined you on the show to be a nice guy so you wouldn't be alone. So it's going to be me, nobody else. So unfortunately, we don't get to see that beautiful man above you cluck. Everybody knows everyone's favorite clucker is JD because we don't get to see it often. So everybody does want to see it. JD,
I really wanted to see him cluck today.
I told you. The fans wanted to. The fans wanted it too. JD, how are you today, brother?
Doing good. Yes, as far as the heat, it is fixed now. That's a very good thing because tonight we're actually supposed to get some ice and snow and shit. So that's kind of
thank God you're the heat.
Actually us. And actually, J-Bo, thanks, man. Yes, some of the plays yesterday went actually well, but actually, unlike Ben, this is probably my worst week I've had in the past year. This week has just not been it.
We're gonna get into that quickly because I want to talk about my day yesterday because I'm extremely pissed off. I just am. So I'm gonna hit the little thing. I'm gonna do the recap and I'm gonna jump in here first. So yesterday's Penn State game / Notre Dame game was such the right play on the under. The under was absolutely the right play on that game. If this game was again tonight, I would do the same exact bet because there was a 5-minute span in the fourth quarter that led to 4 touchdowns. That's really the only thing that made that game go over. That was very disappointing because it was a max play for me and did feel like I was on the right side. The rest of the day, I went 4-0 in the NBA. So I had the potential, if Penn State under would have held, to have an unbelievable near 10-unit day. So it was still a decent day for us, but very frustrating that 5-minute span went where both teams decided we're not going to tackle, we're not going to play any defense, and we're also going to have a million interceptions right here. So game got a little crazy. I'm a little frustrated still, but we still were able to pull out all the NBA, so I can't be too upset. But I did want to give all the people out there a max play winner, so I am a little frustrated about that. JD, how did you do yesterday? People seem pumped in the comments with how you did.
Yeah, as far as actually tennis went, tennis went very well. The rest of the day was actually not so much. That game last night, man, it just didn't do it for me whatsoever. I fell asleep during it. So.
You really fell asleep in that game?
Yeah.
See, as an under better, I thought it was the greatest game ever. The first 3 quarters, I'm sitting there partying like, oh, we nailed it. This has been fantastic. There's no way we're going to get 31 points in the fourth quarter. Well, fuck me. We got 31 points in the fourth quarter. So, as you can tell, a little frustrated. But, Ben, I hear you're having a fantastic week. Break it down. How have you been doing?
Yesterday I lost one entire play on my card. I went 8-1. And that's my third time this week I've had 1 or less loss on my card. So I'm having a great week. It's
sweep.
Been awesome. I've been betting NHL a lot. So I'm getting back into NHL. We've been loving it in the absence of as many NFL games now because obviously we're going into playoffs, which is a little bit sad, but it is NFL playoffs. So it's not that sad because the games are better, even if we get fewer of them, and which we will get into shortly.
This is the craziest thing ever, by the way. A lot of people were talking about Drew Aller, how this is potential the 3rd overall pick. Maybe he would surpass either of the other 2 quarterbacks in the first round. Let me tell you something, Mr. Drew Aller. Not only do you need to stay in college, but you need to transfer to another school because I don't know how he can go back after making that interception at the end of the game. I'm not even trolling here, not even trying to be funny. That was such a stupid decision to throw that ball. There was no one even open. The only person who could have made the play was the cornerback for the interception. So I did feel a little bad for Drew Aller because he literally killed his future in that game last night. But that's how the cookie crumbles. It's good to sometimes learn how these players will really be in the big moments. And I think we learned a lot from Drew Aller last night. And it was very disappointing if you were a guy who supports Drew Aller. Let's say you're a fan of a team that needs a quarterback. Not trying to, make anyone see it from my perspective, but hello, we're picking in the top 3 ourselves, the Giants. So Giants fans, I'm sure, were looking at Drew Aller last night too. I was checking him out to see if I wanted him on the Giants. I think most people have a pretty clear understanding of what happened with Drew Aller. Also, James Franklin, man, 1-15 against teams in the top 5. What an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. Fellas, before we go into the UFC hour with Ben, one more question that I have for everybody here. Do we think James Franklin will return to this Penn State team after yesterday's performance?
Oh, man.
Ben, to you. What do you think?
Well, I was just going to say that's a tough one. He's consistently underperforming in big games. Like, I don't necessarily mind him as a coach, especially if you're talking about getting into bowl games and that kind of stuff. But just his record in the big games, like you brought up, I mean, it's almost too much to overlook. And we've seen coaches that get to keep your jobs in that instance, but they usually don't have the talent level that Penn State has been held to the expectations of what they should.
Absolutely.
Because, in the Big Ten, I mean, this year they go to the Big Ten championship, can't win that. Granted, it was against a very good team. And then they have a pretty easy path in their first 2 games.
100%.
And then all of a sudden, they absolutely collapse against a Notre Dame team that, let's be honest, sure, they're a pretty good team, but as far as an actual college football playoff semifinal goes, that's one of the easiest games I think you're ever going to get. That was one of their best opportunities to actually maybe make it to a championship against Notre Dame. And that's not taking anything away from Notre Dame. It's just what we've seen from the talent level of these championship games over the last few years. This was absolutely a year that Penn State should have been able to do it. And they just fell short of both the conference championship and in the semifinal. So I think he should be gone.
I kind of agree at this point. I think he needed to – if they would have lost a close game where they didn't have the lead yesterday and there weren't so many errors and mistakes, I think that, he should have stayed. But I do think he was outclassed yet again. And when it came down to the big moments, I do believe that Freeman did a better job and Marcus Freeman led his team to victory. Well, on the other side, it did look like James Franklin was a deer in headlights. They kept panning to him on the sideline. He looked terrified. He looked nervous. It just wasn't a good look for him last night, in my opinion. JD, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that, it's weird because as far as the regular season, he actually is a good coach. It's just these big games and versus top teams. His track record, clearly shows that he is not a good coach during those games.
Absolutely.
With saying that, I just have a feeling that he stays there, though.
He probably will.
Yeah.
That's just how Penn State operates. They keep making it. They're still there. So I do think they will probably stay with him. I don't know if that's the correct decision, but I do think you're right. They will stay with him. Jammer, thoughts? Do you agree with us?
If you do, you're just settling. I don't know how you look at his record versus top teams and you just say, yeah, let's bring this guy back. It doesn't make any sense. 1-15 versus top 5 opponents, just as bad against top 10. Isn't that what you get paid for, to beat those top tier teams?
And he can never beat Ohio State. He can't beat Michigan. They're teams that they really struggle with in the Big Ten those are bigger games than what they are on paper. That means everything to these guys. They're conference games. These are emotional games, and to consistently not win them, I think, is a big tragedy for Penn State because they have the talent to be there. They have the environment to be there, and they're one of the most premier elite destinations to watch a game. We all know the whiteout that they have every year is insane. It's one of the hardest stadiums to play in, so they should be getting a little further than they are, and I think James Franklin may be holding them back just a little bit. But, fellas, it's about that time. We have the MMA Hour with Ben, but before we do, goodbye. Buck. That's all you're getting today, fellas. That's all you're getting. So let's bring everyone back. Let's get everything set up back. And we are now going to get into the MMA Hour with Ben. Ben, break it down. The UFC is back. First card in 2025. I know everyone in the Discord, I'm seeing everybody tag you. They're all excited to get back in the UFC world with you. What's been going on? Fill me in.
Guys, it is finally back after the holiday break. and I have a spicy little underdog for you guys. Just one play. There will be a full card in the Discord, but just one play here. Chris Curtis plus 190 against Roman Kopylov. I think this price is egregious. Kopylov is a decent-looking prospect, but he has absolutely no volume. I just don't think he's going to have the volume in this fight to take care of Chris Curtis. He was off a split decision in his last fight, which, by the way, his last fight was the first time he's won in the UFC against an opponent with a winning record in the UFC. And that guy, Cesar Almeida, he was only 2-1 in the UFC, so it barely counts. That's the first time he's beat a guy with a winning record. He does not have the same level of pedigree of schedule that Chris Curtis has. Like, you look up and down his record, Chris Curtis has beaten absolute killers. He's beaten Brendan Allen. He's fought against Jack Hermanson, Joaquin Buckley, who's vying for a title shot now. Jack Hermanson, like, he's fought way, way more high level caliber fighters. And at this fight, I honestly believe should absolutely be his based on the volume alone. Roman Kopylov only got outstruck by 50 against Cesar Almeida, and he narrowly won that split decision because he was able to land 5 takedowns. He's not going to land 5 takedowns against Chris Curtis. I really do think Curtis in the second and third round is going to have way more volume. He's going to either win a decision or, I believe, actually maybe even a late TKO or KO in round 3. So Chris Curtis, sizable underdog here, plus 190. I think that price is way off. It should be closer to a pick 'em. So Chris Curtis, that is the play that I will be giving out for free on the show today. But, of course, we will have the full card over in Discord for you guys tomorrow. And I'm so excited UFC's back. So let's get it.
Absolutely love it. Ben, I will be tailing that play, and I put plus 190 underdog there. So let's cash it. And fellas, usually we do a longer MMA hour with Ben. Usually it's just the two of us up here. But today is the NFL playoff show, and we want to give you guys as much NFL playoff content as we possibly can. So you boys ready to dive into Super Wildcard Weekend of the NFL? Let's get it, gentlemen. Let's get it. We're going right in to Super Wildcard Weekend, and we are going to start with the Chargers going to Houston and taking on the Texans. Chargers are getting 3 points here, total sitting at 42.5. Jammer, you're an AFC guy. You know the AFC very well. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, so I'm just going to start off with my man, Justin Herbert. He's played in one playoff game in his career, a game that he would certainly like to forget because his Chargers blew a 27-0 lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. But if there's one thing I learned about this young man is that he is a beast, both physically and mentally. So I don't even think that he's even put an ounce of thought into that game going into this week. Even though this Texans defense, man, it's highly ranked in a lot of the defensive stats. They've been exposed as of recent against top teams like Baltimore, Kansas City, Detroit. Yep. And for these reasons, man, I got to back my guy Herbert here big. He's shown out recently as the Chargers made a push for the playoffs. Over the last 3 games, he's averaging over 300 passing yards per game, winning all 3 of those games. So first play I'm going to be on for Super Wildcard Weekend, Justin Herbert over 229.5 passing yards.
I like it.
As for the other quarterback, I was a huge fan of Mr. Stroud, even drafted him on a couple of my fantasy football teams. But, man, has he shrunk towards the end of the season. Part of this in due part to Joe Mixon and the run game absolutely disappearing. Post-bye, excluding Week 18, whenever they bench their starters, Joe Mixon is averaging a measly 35 rushing yards per game. And C.J. Stroud struggling as well, only averaging 187 passing yards per game.
Yep.
So not what you want to see heading into the playoffs, especially after not seeing the starters much in Week 18. So I don't think that that's going to equate to a lot of scoring and a lot of confidence in the offense there. So another play for the game, I'm going to go Houston Texans team total under 20.5. So
I like that as well.
I got for that game.
I'm going to jump in here now because your second play kind of rolls into my play, and I'm on the under here. It is one of my favorite one of my favorite plays of the opening round of Super Wildcard Weekend. Let's take a look at how these teams have done all season long on the expected totals and against totals. So the Texans are the best team in the NFL, covering the under at 65%. So they are 11-6 of games going to the under. Then you take a look at the Chargers. They are 9-8, hitting it over 50%. Both teams are in the top 10 in the NFL games going to the under. Both these teams are going to want to play this game without turning the ball over. I think we see a lot of rushing on the Texans side. We all know the injuries that the Texans have on the offensive side. Tank Dell will not be there. They've really had to utilize the running attack. They cannot have any turnovers. They have to keep the score low because it's difficult for them to put points on the board this season. By far, my favorite play in this game is the under, and I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, you just gave us the under in Penn State. This is another one. This one's
That was
good.
the right play.
It
That
was the right
play.
I've been getting so many DMs of people. Don't get me started.
Oh,
but yes, I love the under in this game. This is the right play for this one too, and we will cash this under. Let's get it. Ben, what do you got?
For me, I think this game comes down to what a lot of people haven't been talking about, and that's the Texans' defense. Their pass rush has 2 of the top 10 sack leaders in the NFL with Willie Anderson and Danielle Hunter. With Danielle Hunter being, I believe it's 4th with 12 sacks in the NFL. Like he's been absolutely killing it this year. And then they also have Willie Anderson. Like they're coming at you from both sides, and they get home very often to the point where they have 2 guys in the top 10 in sacks. And that's going to be a scary thing for the Chargers because, as Jammer brought up, this is the second game for Herbert in the playoffs. And the first time, he has probably a little bit in his dreams last night. He was thinking about that 27-0 that he blew against the Jags. And I just got to think in a game this big, if you're getting pressure on him that often, and especially if you can get to him, it's going to put a lot of pressure on him. Now, he's done well this year, not throwing interceptions. The Chargers, they've been one of the best teams at limiting interceptions because of Justin Herbert. However, the Texans are second in the NFL in forcing interceptions, and they're 4th in passing yards allowed. So their pass defense has been so good because they've been able to get pressure. I do think that they keep this low scoring, so I don't hate the under, but I'm actually going to take a stab on Houston +3. Like, I understand that this game would be way different with Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, and it sucks that they don't have to get to play in this one because, they would be contenders, like, for real, I believe, if those 2 are healthy. But I still think they're a good enough team to take care of it here. I know Deontay Johnson, whatever you want to think of him. This is his 3rd team now this season, and they brought him in for this. This is kind of his chance to step up. He only had to play 1 game with them leading into the playoffs against the Titans, but if he can kind of step up in that secondary role and at least fill somewhat, he's not a Tank Dell, he's not a Stephon Diggs, but he can be decent enough to, I believe, fill in if CJ Stroud can show up. And I think that defense is going to set them up nicely in this game. So I'm going to take a stab on the Texans as underdogs.
I respect it. JD.
Ben, we're on the same side here, man. You actually said a lot of great things there. So I'm going to focus on actually like a little bit of a different angle here. And that is, as far as this actually number, this Texans +3, to me, this number is wild. Like, it's wildly off. Like, I just can't get anywhere close to this. I will say, as far as Houston, I have not backed them a single time this entire season.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of scares me that I am doing it now. But at this number, like, I just have to. The Chargers, they're going to be playing their third straight actually road game here, and then they're laying 3. I believe out of all the games we're talking about today, I believe they're the only road team actually like laying points. And just 3 to me, it seems way too much here. It's not the most fun bet for actually me. But as far as Texans +3, I have played that, and I have played that fairly large.
There we go.
So yeah,
love it. Well, fellas,
what do you think about
what do you say, Jammer?
I was gonna say, what do you think about the playoff atmosphere in Houston? Is that intimidating for LA?
Not as much as some other teams.
Agreed.
I was praying my Steelers went to Houston, but we got stuck with Baltimore.
Yes, you did. You definitely got the short end of the straw with the matchups here. Quickly, I have a little bit of breaking news, everybody. Jalen Hurts has officially passed concussion protocol, and he has been removed from the injury report. So Jalen Hurts will 100% be active and ready to go in their wild card matchup. So that did just come through Underdog. He is officially cleared and is 100% good to go, as well as Marshawn Lattimore, another player that was just cleared, a different injury, but a hamstring. Both of them are playing in the wildcard round, so we do have to put that out there. A lot of people have been speculating with Kenny Pickett banged up. Was there going to be no quarterback available for the Eagles? All Eagles backers, relax. Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback for this team. Let's keep it moving. And unfortunately, I hate to do this to you, Jammer. I hate to. But we're going in order of the games that we have. So we're going to have you break down the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers are coming in 10-7 on the year. They are 5-4 on the road, though, which is a positive record. Taking on a Ravens team that has been absolutely deadly at home. They're 12-5 on the year, but they are 6-2 at home. It's a night game in Baltimore. Jammer, will Lamar Jackson finally have a good playoff game? What do you think about this one?
Oh man, in Baltimore, perfect AFC North weather. I think it's going to be about 20 some degrees. Chance of flurries out there. But man, this is a tough one for Steelers Nation. We have not held a lead in the playoffs in almost 10 years. You have to go back to 2016 to find the last time we won, let alone had a lead in the playoffs. And I could go on and on and on and on and on about the last 4 playoff games that Mike Tomlin and this team has done. But man, Mike Tomlin, 8-10 playoff record since his 2010 AFC Championship win. He's 3-9. And I know he signed an extension with the team, but he's got to be on the hot seat here. But I can go on and on and on about the playoffs and Mike Tomlin, but I'm going to try and stay positive here.
Positive. You're here. You're not taking third like the New York Giants, who have no quarterback option. So you're good. You're good.
But I can't be the only one thinking this. 10 points has got to be way too high of a spread for a game between these two divisional rivals. Outside of the Week 16 loss, where the Steelers are missing key pieces like George Pickens, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, Larry Ogunjobi, past 9 matchups between these two have been decided by 1 score or less.
Yep.
So I got to back my boys here, man. I will be buying that point to get it to 10.5 just to be safe. I think the 9.5 is a little too much too, but just to be safe, I'm going to take that extra point, 10.5, get it down to the touchdown and the field goal, even though I don't even think it's going to be that big of a spread between these two. But another play I got here, dropped it earlier this week on the old Twitter account, a collab play with my boy Sosa Picks. Go ahead and check him out. The line stayed stagnant during the week, so I'm still comfortable giving it out now. It's George Pickens, over 54.5 receiving yards. This number is just way too low. I know he had a stinker of a game against the Bengals, but man, this is just disrespectful for him, especially a big-time playmaker like him in a big game versus a divisional rival, versus a team that he has played well against in his career. 4 matchups, he's topped this number 3 times. So I'm very confident that our only playmaker on offense, really outside of maybe Pat Freiermuth, he's going to be the guy that Russell Wilson's going to be looking for. Especially on third downs. They like to go for those deep balls, those moon balls out there to George Pickens. So before I finish my Steelers rant here, man, I just want to finish off with my favorite Tomlinism about the game.
Here we go.
Don't blink. If you're a blinker, cut your eyelids off, because this game is not going to be for the faint of heart.
There we go. No blinking for this game. I'll give my pick on this one next, guys. I am taking the Steelers team total under 16.5. I agree with Jammer, though. I do think the Steelers will cover the spread, but I am more comfortable fading their offense right now. I know you're high on George Pickens, but after watching him the last couple of weeks, the guy is just a head case. The guy needs to calm down and actually catch the ball before he starts running his freaking mouth, because a lot of NFL wide receivers are divas, but they catch the damn ball when they act like a diva. You can't be doing that when you're not performing at a high level. So I do think the team total under is the best play on this game, and that's exactly what I'm playing. I do have a player prop on this game as well. I'm taking Rashad Bateman anytime touchdown at plus 140. He's been the guy benefiting on this Ravens offense from some deep balls with Zay Flowers being banged up. I do think Rashad Bateman will find the end zone at least once. So give me Bateman plus 140 anytime touchdown and the Steelers team total under 16.5. Ben, what do you got?
So I think that the spread is wild. However, I think there's blowout potential. I just don't see it. You have a divisional playoff game basically here. I think this is going to be a close game, but the spread scares me too much. So I'm going to a prop in this game. I'm not touching the spread. I'm going to a prop, and it's a prop that had 2 very different themes in the 2 times these guys met in the regular season. In the first game, the Ravens lost. Granted, there were a few other surrounding things with that, but Derrick Henry had 13 carries in that game for only 65 yards. In the second game, when they won by a lot, he had 24 carries for 162 yards. There's a little bit of a theme there, I believe, and it's giving Derrick Henry the damn ball. So I'm taking Derrick Henry over 20.5 carries. He hit this line already 7 times this season, and down the stretch, he had 24 carries in that game. That was 3 games ago. 2 games ago when they won huge against Houston, 27 carries. And then last week, in an essentially meaningless game where he barely touched the ball in the second half after they were already up a lot, he still had 20 carries. He almost hit this line in a blowout game against the Browns that he didn't even really need to play much in the second half. So I love this line on him. I really think they're going to feed him the ball a lot. You brought it up, Alpha, with Lamar kind of struggling in the playoffs. 2-5 in the playoffs. He's only had 2 games over 200 yards passing in his career in the playoffs. So I think they're going to just go to what got them there this year with that really good rushing attack behind Derrick Henry. Give him the ball a lot and often. He did really well against this rushing defense 3 weeks ago. I believe that they do it with him again with a high volume, and he gets over 20.5 carries.
Weather's perfect for the run game too, but the Steelers are getting some hard hitters back on the defensive side.
For sure, sure.
And JD Flowers too. That adds to that as well. I really think they're going to need to rely on both Derrick Henry and Lamar. I actually don't hate taking both Derrick Henry and Lamar over 8.5 carries. I think both.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you 100%. JD, thoughts?
Let's actually go with a quick question here to start off with. What is the record for teams that are going into the playoffs with actually 4 straight losses?
I can promise you that none of us have that answer.
No. There's got to be no team that has ever gone into the playoffs with 4 straight losses.
Correct.
Really?
One of us did have the answer.
Okay. Jammer knew it.
Yeah, this is actually the first time. The Steelers, I've talked about them a lot this season, so I'm not really going to make it actually about that. As far as this Ravens team, though, I've talked a lot about them, and actually 4 weeks ago I came on the show and I said Super Bowl, and I said them, the Ravens, and I said watch, as far as their defense goes, they're going to be getting better and better every single week. They have gotten better and better every single week. This whole team, I think, is really going to peak here at just the right time. This game, though, as far as the spread, it seems really high. As far as the number that I have on it, it is actually 10.2. There's actually no way I could lay that, though. Just the Steelers and Mike Tomlin and just the voodoo they seem to have. I'm just the spread. I just don't want to touch that either. Actually, first half spread, the full game spread. I'm actually just actually staying away there. As far as their money line goes, though, I was able to pair that with a game that goes tonight. If you pair the actual OSU money line and the Ravens money line, you can actually get that at a -133. And for actually a parlay, that's as much juice as I'll ever lay. But I think for actually this parlay, this should be more in the 185 range. So I think I actually think that's a very good play.
I agree. All right, fellas, we all broke down that one. You ready to get into the next game, which is just like this one, a difficult big spread, but I do have a big play in this game that I definitely want to go over. So you boys ready to get into the next one, which is going to be Broncos taking on the Bills. I see we have our resident Broncos fan, Casper. I will not try and pronounce his last name. Niesgard is Broncos fan here, so this is the game we're going to be getting into. Ben, I'll let you break this one down. 10-7 Broncos coming in, taking on a 13-4 Buffalo Bills team. The one big injury news on this game is that Amari Cooper was just lifted off the injury report. He will be playing in this one. Ben, break it down. What you got?
Well, you picked a horrible place to start. I had no play in this game.
Well, send it back to me because I do. Send it back.
I know it's the playoffs and I should have a play in every game, but I can't find a side that I love with a spread like this. If it was below a touchdown, I'd be on the Bills. I can't help but think the Broncos are going to hang around, but you have a rookie making his first playoff appearance. This could absolutely be a blowout. Or he's looked really good all season, and the Broncos defense has played well. They could easily hang in there. So absolutely no play for me. I'm not confident either way on this one, even on the total, to be honest with you. So I'm sending it back to you.
All right, I got my parlay, and it's very similar to JD's. Tonight's Ohio State money line, I'm parlaying with the Buffalo Bills. You can get that at a -130. We gave it out on the show yesterday. It was Hefe's parlay of the day. I was in agreement with him. I think that is the best angle on this game. I was debating taking Ohio State tonight by the spread, but I am not going to be doing that because I will feel a little bit more comfortable taking the parlay here, getting both teams on the money line. I think they both close it out, and that's exactly what I'm playing at -130. JD, what you got?
Yeah, this is a game where actually just like you again, man, I'm going to do the same thing here. with the Bills, just actually accept my other team is actually going to change for this one. It's actually going to be in our next game. For me, there's not a lot to say here. This is just actually as far as this Bills team, we all know I've been high on actually them. They've been playing so well. As far as their team total, I'm very close to playing that. I'm not quite there yet. And with saying that, in this game, simply the Bills are going to put up points, and I just don't think the Broncos are going to be able to actually keep up. I know that's a very simple thing to say, but I think it really comes down to that. I will say that Denver this year has actually played very well, but I think this is actually where their season stops.
Yeah.
So give me the Bills here, and I will have the other half of that play coming up next.
First leg of the parlay for JD is the Bills. He will be closing it in the next game or the game after. We have a couple left. Jammer, any action from you in this one? One thing I want to ask you and let you ponder on, Jammer, is I was looking at a Bo Nix interception prop. You can get it at minus 150. I know it's a little juicy, but in this type of game, a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, who I anticipate them being down for the bulk share of the game, do you like potentially that Bo Nix interception prop, and what do you like on the game as a whole?
It's tough, man, because I'm looking here. Has there been anyone in the NFL that's been hotter than these two quarterbacks? Josh Allen, odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Bo Nix been on an absolute heater since week 8. 24 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions and a 106 passer rating. I mean, for a rookie quarterback on a playoff push, I know they lost a couple of those final games to kind of scare the team into maybe thinking they weren't going to make the playoffs, but I mean, he came up huge in week 18. I know against some backups, but did he have an incompletion in that game? I mean, he was just throwing dots out there, but this Buffalo defense isn't special, but having the home field advantage and playing against a rookie quarterback here certainly helps. On the other side, Denver's been lights out on defense, but has struggled recently, allowing 30 plus in 3 of their last 4 meaningful games. Those were those games that kind of scared the franchise into thinking maybe they weren't going to make the playoffs. But do I believe they're going to be able to stop this Josh Allen-led offense? Hell no, man. Especially when we've been riding these Bills team totals all year. With Josh Allen, these Bills teams have been averaging 51 points per game total between both teams going in the playoffs. And 7 of his last 10 playoff games have gone over 2. So I'm not hopping off the train. Building off what JD basically started this year. Give me the Bills team total over 28.5. And to top that off, they're not going to be able to stop Josh Allen. He is an unstoppable force, especially inside the red zone. I know James Cook has definitely gotten a lot more action than he did in his rookie season, but this team goes as far as Josh Allen goes. So I'm going to be taking Josh Allen anytime touchdown. You can get it at minus 125 on DraftKings. Once he gets into the red zone, there's no one that can match up with this guy, especially on the Broncos defense. I know that they're, well suited in all 3 levels of that defense, but they have no one that can match up with him. And so you got to take the chance that he's going to get in that end zone, especially whenever he's scored in his last 3 playoff games. I think we keep that going. So give me Josh Allen anytime touchdown and give me the Bills team total over 28.5.
There we go. All right, fellas, you ready to move on to the second to last game that we're going to be covering, because Super Wildcard Weekend is extended to Monday yet again. So we will have the Monday game next show. So for today's, we still have 2 more games, and we're going to be diving into the next game, which is the Packers taking on the Eagles. And as we said earlier in the show, Jalen Hurts has been removed from the injury report. He has passed the concussion protocol and is fully cleared to go in this game, which to me is an absolutely massive factor in this one, especially because he's been able to practice the last couple days. It's not like he has to get out there with 1 day to practice and hasn't been able to really go through the motions. Today will be his 3rd day practicing in a row, and he is back in the fold, so I'm not putting any stock into his injury currently. We'll start with Jammer. What do you think about the Packers and the Eagles in this game?
Man, injuries lately have been a killer for both these teams. But like you said, man, luckily for the Eagles, they're going to have their stars ready for the playoffs with Jalen Hurts back from concussion protocol. A.J. Brown's been on the injury report, but they're just saying it's simply for rest. And the Packers are surely going to be missing big play opportunities from Christian Watson.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also missing out on Jair Alexander. I mean, that would be a huge two pieces to have on both sides of the ball for them. But I've been saying a lot recently, this Eagles team might be the best team in the NFL. I think I've been saying that for the last at least like 8 weeks. Their team's finished in the top 10 in a multitude of defensive stats, but most importantly, they're first in passing, second in scoring, and matching the success of the defense. They have the same thing on the offense, finishing second in rushing per game and seventh in scoring. Other key areas that they seem to dominate, line of scrimmage and turnovers, and those are huge pieces of winning games. That limits the other team on offense and limiting turnovers on offense and forcing them on defense. And all these great strengths seem to point towards the Eagles being the strong play. So I got to keep following those indicators. I'm going to be all over the Eagles -4.5 against this Packers team. I know that they played well as of recent, but I just think that they have so many different playmakers and they're strong all over the field. So I got to back the Eagles here at home at -4.5. I'd love to get it under that field goal number, but I think that this has blowout potential.
I do as well. I'm not a big believer in the Packers right now. We all know that Jordan Love is banged up as well. So, I'm not huge on them with everything that's been going on. You take a look at their recent performances, which I think is a big deal going into the playoffs. They lost at home versus the Bears. They lost at the Vikings the week before, so they are coming in off consecutive losses. The win they had before that was against the Saints. Congratulations. Everybody beat the Saints. And the win before that was against the Seahawks. Congratulations. Everybody beat the Seahawks. So to me, the Packers aren't coming in hot. I do feel like they may be a team that peaked a little early. And with the injuries on both sides of the ball, I do think it's a very difficult task to go up against an Eagles team that feels like they have a very good chance to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So to me, this is definitely an Eagles play. The current line on FanDuel is -4.5 at -115. That's exactly what I am playing. Eagles -4.5. Ben, what you got?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily agree that the Eagles are the right play in this game. I'm not going to be betting on the Packers, but I do think I think the Packers are being a little bit overlooked. And this season in general, but especially in this game, because they're 11-6 playing in what was easily the best division in football this year. And yet their stats, all their numbers, like they were top 5 in yards per play allowed on defense and top 5 in yards on offense. Like they were top 5 in both sides of the ball. And that's playing 4 games against 2 of the best teams in the NFL who happen to play in their division. So I do think that they've been overshadowed in their division. They haven't been talked about as much because they've had to play in such a tough division where they're 11-6, third in their division, which would have won some of the other divisions in football. So I think people are a little too down on the Packers here. However, they do have a lot of injuries. So I think that kind of negates some of what I just said well about them. So I will not be betting the Packers, but I do think they keep it closer than some people are expecting them to. However, I do have a prop in this game. I'm not leaving you guys again without a play. And it's going to be on Packers receiver Romeo Doubs, over 44.5 receiving yards. Jammer already brought it up. There's no Christian Watson, which is big. The last game Doubs played without Christian Watson was against the Vikings, which is a pretty good defense. He had 58 yards, and he was the leading receiver for the Packers in that game. I think a lot of people are expecting a Jaden Reed big game because in the first game of the season, when they played the Eagles, Jaden Reed went off for like 130-some yards out of the slot, and that was kind of the beginning of his explosion at the beginning of the year. He's really cooled off down the second half of the season, like games under 30 receiving yards, said multiple in the last 7. He's only gone over this line 2 of the last 8 games. So I really think Romeo Doubs is actually going to be the number 1 receiver in this game. And Jaden Reed, he didn't have to match up against Cooper DeJean in the first game because DeJean was banged up coming into the season. He only played 6 snaps in the first game of the season. He was up against Devontae Maddox. Now he's going to be matched up against Cooper DeJean. So with that and Christian Watson being out, I really think this is a Doubs game. I think he goes over 44.5 yards. Pretty easily in this one because I think they're still going to be playing from behind and they're going to have to throw. But who knows? I think they could keep it close.
Mr. JD, what you got?
I really got to say, Jammer broke this game down just right.
The hell about me and Ben, bro? What about us?
Sorry, guys. But for real, like as far as there's actually 2 teams that this year that actually, like me and Jammer, have both been just kind of in on, and we have rode them all season long. One is this Lions team. And then the other is this team here, man. And just actually, like, as far as the Eagles go, they're just an all around really good team. Jammer actually just told you all the stats why. And this one to me, the Eagles offense, the actual matchup that they have here is very good. As far as their team total over, I was close to wanting to play that, but the Eagles, especially in the second half, love to bleed clock, and they are great at that. They can have an 8-minute drive, and that's just like an average drive.
Yep.
So actually, like, that's why I'm not going to play that. But yes, give me the Eagles on the money line here, and then pair that with the Bills. Once again, that's a -133. Like I said, there's my limit, but these are two games where these two teams I think are the very clear to actually win here. If I actually had to, the Eagles, I actually don't actually mind a little alt spread play here. Just actually take them up to -6.5, and then probably take them up to -9.
There we go. I absolutely love it. So there's the other leg of that. Fellas.
Then hang on. Sorry. One more thing here. As far as this Eagles team, if this Eagles team if actually they do lose this game, I think the coach is fired on the field.
Yep. I can see it. I can totally see it. So I don't think you're wrong there.
On the field.
We can see it. We could see it. More to come on that. Hopefully we don't see that. Let's keep it moving, fellas. Last and final game we're breaking down today is going to be the Washington Commanders taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks. This one seems like it's the most divided game of everybody. You go on Twitter, you go on any social media. Half the people are saying if you're on the Bucks, you're the smart one. Half the people are saying if you're on the Commanders, you're a moron. Someone's right. Someone's wrong in that debate. I'll start off with this one first. I am on the Commanders in this matchup plus the 3 points. I do think the Commanders will be able to score with the Bucks. The Bucks were extremely unimpressive in their win against the Saints last week, which they needed to win to make the playoffs. It was a playoff atmosphere last game, and they kind of dropped the ball. They were able to get it done late, but they were playing a team of backups, a team of guys that were dead in the water, and they still barely were able to pull that one out. So to me, the Commanders are coming in better form. The Commanders have won 5 consecutive games. They have gotten hot. They beat the Cowboys, the Falcons, the Eagles, the Saints, and the Titans. I know there's not a lot of great playoff teams in there, but they are beating everyone that's in front of them, and I do believe in Jaden Daniels. I do think he's probably going to be the best player on the field in this game, and I think he will be able to create as he's done all year long. He's been able to limit turnovers all year long. He only has 9 interceptions on the year compared to Baker Mayfield, who has 16. That's not diminishing anything Baker's done. Baker has way more passing touchdowns. He has 41 passing touchdowns compared to Jaden Daniels' 25. However, I don't think Daniels is going to let this game get out of reach. I think we'll see a lot of Jaden Daniels' legs in this game. I think they saved him for the playoffs, and I think that's a big thing that we haven't talked about yet on this show. Mobile quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. These are guys we're going to see run more in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson as well. There's nothing to hold back from now. You got to use everything you got. You see it every year with Patrick Mahomes. He barely runs during the regular season. He does not want to take an injury. Then we hit the postseason, and this guy's a mini Lamar Jackson. So I think we're going to see Jaden Daniels move a lot in this ball game. I think we're going to see the Commanders have success moving the ball as well. So give me the Commanders plus the 3 points. Definitely one of my favorite plays this weekend. Ben, do you agree with me? Am I an idiot? Am I wrong? What's going on? What do you like?
I absolutely agree with you. And
so we're both idiots.
It comes partly down to something that you said. You said it has the highest total on the wild card weekend, and for a good reason. There's going to be scoring in this game.
Yeah.
Now, something that kind of, I didn't necessarily look at or think about was because of the division the Bucks play in, but even some of their non-divisional opponents. You look at the beginning of the season, they faced some actually pretty good teams. And they went 4-5 to start 4-6, to start the year. And it looked like, they're not going to really go places. Then the last, 7 games of the year, they played the Giants, Carolina, the Raiders, the Chargers, which they did win. That was a good win. Then Dallas, Carolina, and New Orleans. Like, I cannot even possibly find an easier stretch of 7 games at the end of the season than that. Like, you're playing
I would have loved that schedule.
6 of the bottom 7 teams in the NFL. It's no wonder why they went 6-1 to close out the year. And with how bad they looked coming down the stretch of the season, you made a great point of that, Alpha. Like a game they absolutely needed last week, and it was that close. Baker barely threw for over 200 yards. Like
it was brutal.
And they have a banged up. I mean, you got to think of it too. They have a banged up secondary. I know Antoine Winfield will come back, which is big.
He is back. He has been named as of an hour ago. He will be playing.
He will be playing in this game, which is big for them. But they let Rattler, who looked so bad, he threw for 240 yards, didn't have an interception. He looked almost decent with a completely meaningless game on the line. Like I'm just not high on this Bucs team coming to the playoffs. I understand Bucky Irving's looked really good. Baker Mayfield's had to come back down the second half of the season, but once again, look at their strength of schedule, who they were playing. You have to look at that. They were playing a horrible strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Many of the Commanders played in a pretty tough division, and they did well against the Eagles. Yeah.
Was that a tough one?
The toughest.
I think it's tougher than the NFC. It's tougher than the division that the Bucs were playing. Let's put it that way. And
that's the worst division.
We can say that.
Yeah.
We can
and
say
Dane
that.
Daniels, I think his legs are going to be the X factor here. They just have more weapons. Zach Ertz, who has Super Bowl experience, Brian Robinson Jr., who's looked excellent, and then even Austin Eckler behind him, who is, as a pass-catching running back, he's been a pretty good weapon for them. So I just think weapons-wise with McLaurin and all those guys, they are more well-equipped on the offensive side of the ball to score in this game than the Bucs. And it really will come down to one or two big mistakes, and it seems like that will come from the Bucs more than it would the Commanders in this game. So I'm going to take them plus the 3 points. If you're going to give me a free 3 points, I'm going to take it.
Shut up, Josh. Over to Jammer. What do you got?
So this is probably the one game that I don't really have some strong opinions on. But one of these underdogs has to win. And if it's not going to be my Steelers, I think it's going to be this Commanders team. We can't let the public just straight bet all the favorites this week and just let them parlay and let them win. One of these underdogs got to win.
College football playoff.
So
I have breaking news that's hilarious, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the NFL, but Carson Beck is transferred to Miami. I got it. There you go, Carson Beck.
Shout out
Miami.
Carson Beck.
Shout out Carson Beck.
Feels on brand.
On brand.
But,
sorry to do that.
No, you're good. But Ben, you brought it up. Highest total of the weekend. We got the number 4 and number 5 scoring offenses. Is this number 2 going to be true? I'm not interested in any props on the week, but I'm starting to think that this total might be a little too good to be true for a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment with the highest total game of the weekend. I think it's a trap. I'm going to be on the under here. I know that we've seen a lot of high-scoring games with the Buccaneers, and their defense is broken, and we know that Jaden Daniels can get it done both through the air and with his legs, extending drives, getting first downs. But rookie quarterback, first game on the road, highest total of the weekend. Too good to be true here. I'm going to be on the under 50.5. Not a strong feeling about it, but it's just, I think it's too good.
The ghost is here. What do you guys think Ryan Clark's saying?
What's up, Ryan Clark?
Deion Sanders' comments about going to the NFL. Interesting. Very interesting. JD, over to you. Sorry about the ghost.
Sorry, guys. Looking up Miami National Championship odds.
You're really liking that Carson Beck is going to school with his girlfriend, one of the Cavenders, going to Miami to join her there. What a power couple. What a move.
Yeah, that's that's going to be that is nuts. But anyway, yes, this game here, I think we have a very fun game here. Like, this could be the best game actually of the actual weekend here. To me, I'm a little bit opposite of all y'all. I really think the Bucs are the better team here. And I also think that going forward, as far as actually being able to move past this around and then actually upset someone else, I actually think Bucs is that team. With saying all of that though, with this game, I honestly need to spend a little bit more time. I actually have this as Bucs minus 3.6. So I'm not really showing any real value. I mean, this number seems, it really seems right. Just like Jammer was talking about though, as far as this total goes, if actually this was a regular season game, I would be on the over large here.
100%. Yeah.
Large here. But because of it being a playoff game, at that number, I still have to lean under. With saying that, with trying to find a play in this game, maybe a Bucs team total, but actually but actually probably taking that first half.
Okay.
There's kind of more of actually like what I'm thinking here. Just like I said, just with this game, I need to spend a little bit more time on it though.
This was definitely the hardest one for me to look at for sure.
Yeah, I think this was the most difficult game to cap of the group of games for the first round. And I'll let it out early. I'm on the Vikings. I know I'm not supposed to say that till Monday, but bet it now because the odds are going up. Take the Vikings now. Oh, had to get that in. Fellas, we broke down Super Wildcard Weekend. I gave out a play for Monday. Any props that anybody has that we did not go over that you want to get in the show before we head over to best bets and give the people what they're here for? Hand up. Go ahead.
TJ Watt, anytime sack. He's only had one in his playoff career. He's going to be absolutely motivated, probably the most motivated on the Steelers sideline. Give me TJ Watt. Anytime sack. I think it's about minus 102, minus 105, somewhere around there. Great value for the NFL's best. And he did not make NFL first team All-Pro. He's going to be absolutely motivated for this game. Give me TJ Watt, sack.
Imagine betting on a guy who couldn't even make All-Pro with a very weak defensive end year. Don't get me started.
He's better than Myles Garrett. We all know it. Come on.
Woo! Bold claim there. Bold claim there. Any other props before we get into the rest of the show and the things that we do on this show?
I wouldn't mind taking a little look at, I kind of alluded to it in my breakdown of why I like Commanders. Jaden Daniels, over 49.5 rushing yards. I like that line for him. You can get 48.5 in some spots. He didn't really play much last week, so you can't count that. But coming into that game, he had 3 straight games of flying over this number. 66 against the Saints, 81 against the Eagles, 127 against the Falcons. So clearly, down the stretch of the season, in these important games during this 5-game win streak to end the year, he's been using his legs quite a bit. Even in the barely, one half that he played against Dallas, he had 4 rushes for 27 yards. He's been using his legs a lot. The Bucs, they do have Antoine Winfield back. Maybe the path to them keeping the ball moving is Jane Daniels to use his legs quite a bit. So I like him over 48.5 rushing yards a lot.
There we go. I love it. Well, fellas, sounds like it's about time that we get JD's player prop in on the show. What do you got, JD?
Let's go with let's actually go with Derrick Henry to actually score twice.
I looked at that as well.
You can actually get that at plus, I believe, like 315. So
340. I saw
Jammer hates
340. So I was debating taking that as well, JD. That was on my short list. I did an article on that game this morning where I was breaking down some props. I thought about it. I ended up not taking it, but I do think that is a sharp play in this game, and I do think it has a good chance of hitting. All right, fellas, y'all know what we do. It's about that time to get into our Super Wildcard Weekend best bets. Ben, I could see you, by the way. But when we get out of here, break down your best bets. What do you got?
I have 4, and we covered most of them in our game breakdowns, but the first one's going to be Chris Curtis moneyline in the UFC plus 190. Think he gets it done as the dog. The only side I have for a best bet in NFL is the Commanders plus 3. I actually think this line is not necessarily the wrong way. I don't think it should be minus 3. I think it should be closer to pick 'em. I'm going to easily take the field goal there. And then I'm going to be riding Derrick Henry as well with JD, except I'm not taking 2 touchdowns. I'm taking 20.5 carries. I think this is a heavy game plan for him. They won when he got 24 carries. They lost when he got only 16. I think that the answer is clear there. And then Romeo Doubs, in the absence of Christian Watson, will go off this week. 44.5 receiving yards feels like a little too low for him in this one. Those are my 4 best bets.
There we go. I'll get into mine second. First play is the first game of Super Wildcard Weekend. We're taking the under 42.5 in the Chargers and the Texans. And the second best bet is going to be that parlay of the Buffalo Bills on the money line. Parlay with Ohio State tonight on the money line. You can get that anywhere in between minus 130 and minus 137. I'm hearing people say in the comments. I like it anywhere up to minus 140. I still think there's a ton of value, and I'm going to be having multiple units on it. It may be another max play for me. I think it's definitely going to hit for us. Ben, we went over yours. We've now gone over mine. So that means we're going to Jammer before we get to JD. Jammer, what do you got?
Just like Ben, I'm coming in with a 4-pack for you guys. Right. First game of the weekend. Justin Herbert over 229.5 passing yards. Loving the play from this young future superstar. I think he's going to completely forget that meltdown that he had in his first playoff game. He's going to look lights out. especially on the first game of the weekend, opening it up hot. So we got Justin Herbert over 229.5 passing yards. Second game, collab play with my guy Sosa Betts. We dropped it earlier this week. George Pickens over 54.5 yards. Huge bounce back game against a divisional rival, one that he's played well against in his career. Those moon balls, man, they're beautiful.
You love them. Love them.
Let's get one more game, just one more game of Russell Wilson to George Pickens. Next game, Eagles -4.5. Potential blowout in this game, I think. Packers are overrated. Eagles, one of the best teams, if not the best in the NFC. Give me them at -4.5. And the last one, Bills team total over 28.5. This team has just been a scoring monster all year. Don't see it stopping now. Josh Allen and that team, they are very scary. Give me Bills team total over 28.5.
There we go. JD, our first playoff show. It's only right that you close us out. What you got with your best bets?
Let's go with today. Today I'm actually gonna have 3. Let's actually go to that first game, and I'm gonna play the Texans at +3. To me, like I said earlier, to me this line just doesn't make sense. So I just have to actually play it. The rest of them are actually gonna be teams that I think just get the job done. To me, just clearly better teams. So let's the first one. Let's actually parlay the Ravens, and let's parlay them with actually OSU, and that game goes tonight, I believe, at 7:30.
I believe 7:30 yet again, but it's around that same time in the prime time that we'll see all the other college games. Let me pull it up for sure here. Give me 1 second. I am just killing 7:30.
7:30. Okay, and then let's move over to the Sunday games, and actually let's say the Eagles and actually then the Bills. Just actually once again, I think these are teams that just get the job done.
Agreed. Well, fellas, I'm going to put up on the screen the graphic. Get your phones out. Take your screenshots. You can see what everybody's on. I am not reading every single one of these. So take your phones out. You guys can see what everybody is on. I see Jammer taking his phone out. He's taking his screenshot. So Jammer is here. Jammer, I would show you doing it, but I can't take the graphic off yet because the people need to get all these bets locked in. I think that's good enough now so they can see Jammer doing his thing. Jammer, we're going over to you with the iPhone 6. It's been a great show. It's been a great week. Good luck to your Steelers. Any parting words for the people?
Shout out to Steelers Nation. Hey, some of us believe, some of us don't. But this team of destiny.
Team of destiny. Something like that. Ben, any parting words? I know you're not really nervous yet because you have to wait till Monday for your game. But any parting words for the people?
No, I just think this is one of the greatest weekends we'll get in sports. You have UFC back if you're a UFC fan. We have the NFL playoffs starting. We have the college football playoff, which technically kind of is the weekend because it's Friday night. So, absolutely. I mean, what better time to be a sports fan?
Enjoy it, everybody. Enjoy it. JD, over to you. What do you have for the people today?
Yes, actually, just like Ben said, this actual weekend for sports is going to be great. And, yeah, we're all just going to do one thing, and we're going to fucking win.
We're going to fucking win. Guys, we'll be back same time, same place on Monday to break down the rest of Super Wildcard Weekend. We gave you guys the full breakdown. We gave you guys props. We've been on here for about an hour. I hope everybody enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed putting the show on for you guys. Like I said, we'll be back Monday, same time, same place. And good luck, everybody. Let's cash all our bets this weekend. Peace!